Lorwyn is nearly here. Spoilers are out. Let's take a look. Hi guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we discuss all things Pauper. I am your host, Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the Gold Meadow Nomad, that was a mouthful, himself, Reese.
Hello.
Before we start, please do not forget to support us by rating us 5 stars on Spotify, follow us on Twitter at CastingCommons1 for the most recent Pauper deck lists, and of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. How are you doing? You alright?
Yeah, sound.
Sunday.
Back into the swing of things, playing a bit more Magic now, updating Pauper decks, ready for playing some Pauper next month, hopefully. Yeah, all good. Excited about Lorwyn coming.
Lorwyn!
Next week? Next week?
Yeah, I think the previous is this week, right?
Something like that.
Is the previous this week?
Oh, is it this weekend?
I think so. I don't actually know, but the set's out, so that usually means it is, but hey, yeah, I like the look of it. Obviously, for us, for Pauper, we've got potential something, but nothing major, but the set looks cool. Like, I started, as we talked about last week, I started Lorwyn Morningtide, so it's like, this is some nostalgia vibes here, and I'm like loving it.
Yeah, it is definitely some good nostalgia. I think my only fault with it off the bat is there's not enough Lorwyn. Like, they've added all this Strixhaven stuff in, and I'm just like, I literally couldn't care less. Just remove those and give me more
Yes.
Treefolk and Kithkin.
Yes.
Like, we don't care about this Strixhaven thing. Stop trying to make Strixhaven happen.
Yeah, exactly. Strixhaven's not cool. Just stick to your random Happy Fish, Treefolk and Kithkin and leave us alone. Yeah.
But I guess it's maybe sort of still an impact of them now only just doing one set in one place and then moving on. Like, this will be the prime setting for 2 sets, like a Lorwyn set and a Shadowmoor set.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to like squash them both together.
Yeah. But this, like, obviously because it was like so designed for that sort of thing, wasn't it? There was like the 4-set block or whatever it was, because it had Lorwyn Morningtide, Shadowmoor, Eventide. It was like perfect, and it just felt so right. It was like you have 2 sets to explain the story, you have 2 sets to explain the other story, and it's like, oh my god, this is just amazing. Give me more. But anyways, enough of that. Moving on to some Pauper. The Pauper Thought of the Week this week, of course, we are looking at some Lorwyn Eclipse spoilers. Don't expect anything to break the game, that is for sure. The commons, some of them are still pretty good. I'm going to be brewing around a lot of these random cards. Half of them that aren't even on here. Half of them that aren't even in my top 5 video just because they look absolutely janky and crazy, and I am all for it. But that is besides the point. We're here looking at the cards of playability in actual decks, in decks, right? Improved decks that people already know and love, and, you know, all that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what we're going to look at.
I think, like, my initial feelings is it feels sort of like what we were saying last week, where it's gone the way Standard is sort of heading now, where it's a lot more toned down, I guess. Like,
yeah,
we've moved away from this fire design period. We're more like Dragons of Tarkir and stuff like that, where we've got cards that look interesting, but nothing that's just like, this will destroy Pauper, basically.
Yeah, I can get that. And I think also another thing for me is like the messing around, like a couple of cards here, like I want to mention because the wording's different on cards that are similar, if you know what I mean. And I think that's a good place to like mess with, like how that impacts for us as well, which is pretty cool. So hopefully it does impact, because there are a lot of either side grades or slightly worse but better in other instances, if that makes sense. Which is interesting because obviously they are just toned down compared to normal. So I guess for me, I'll just start. The first card I do want to highlight I know you probably should start with a good one, but that is not what we're doing here. A card I kind of want to highlight just because I like the way it's worded again is Blossom Bind, which is a 2-mana enchantment, which is probably its downfall. It's 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When this aura enters, tap enchanted creature, and then enchanted creature doesn't untap, and it can't have counters on it, basically.
It's not even it doesn't untap it can't become untapped, right?
Sorry, yeah,
so
it can't become
this
untapped.
Is obviously doesn't untap during the untap step, like most of these cards do. But then if you're against elves, for example, if they have a Quirion Ranger, normally they would just bounce the forest and untap the guy, but this prevents that, which is really cool.
Exactly. And in terms of, like, Fair, for example, which is probably the only place I could potentially see this scene play out, anywhere that you'd see, like, bind the monster effects, is that, like, obviously Elves is a really bad matchup, and Quirion Ranger just absolutely negates any chance you have at obviously doing anything, right? You hit a Priest, you hit a Timberwatch Elf, you hit the big threat, they just untap it with a Quirion Ranger. Obviously, this basically is the double whammy. However, as already mentioned, it is 2 mana, which is the backbreaker for this card's playability, I'd say. But it maybe the effect is that strong that it might be good enough. What's your thought?
Oh, man. I'm just having like brain farts in the middle of it. How does the can't have counters put on it work with something like Devoted Druid? Can you pay that cost, or can you just not pay that cost? Because if you can pay the cost to put the trigger to untap it on the stack, you could put this on a Devoted Druid, pay the cost like 20,000 times.
And then just kill it.
It doesn't get any smaller because it can't have counters on it, and then bounce the enchantment or destroy the enchantment, and then it'll just get like a million untapped triggers. I don't know if that actually works.
Because obviously the counter cost is it's a cost, right? It's not it's not untap this creature and put a counter on it. It's like obviously you would just have
put a -1/-1 counter on it. Untap this creature.
I don't know.
But I'm not a judge. I'm not sure how that works. I guess it combos off with Solemn. Is this worded the same as like the cards that combo with Devoted Druid? Like what's the white guy? Like the 2 mana white card, or there's an enchantment as well. Is it Solemnity, the enchantment?
I don't know. You might have just broke the game. What was on about? Solemnity.
Yeah, counters can't be put on artifact creatures or land. And then is it Vizier?
Yeah, Vizier the
whatever. Remedies or something.
Yeah, I think that's the card.
I've got a French one on Scryfall for some reason.
Yeah, mine did that before with a card. You just press English on it. Scroll down a little bit.
So this one's worded differently. So the Vizier is worded differently, but the Human Devoted Druid does combo with Solemnity, and I haven't just made that up. There might be a combo there.
That's pretty interesting.
I'll just quickly search it.
A 3-card combo, right? But interesting.
Yeah, you just need something to like get rid of the enchantment. Oh no, I actually think it works. That's sad.
Oh, that's sad. I thought you were.
I think Solemnity stops you being able to pay the cost. So I assume this would work the same, where it stops you paying the cost.
Right.
But in that, obviously, it doesn't work with Devoted Druid, but it could potentially work with some other stuff where the counters aren't a cost. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but. I'm just thinking that second line is so odd.
Yeah.
To like be on the card, like the whole, obviously it's like a lockdown enchantment. It's 2 mana. It taps the creature when it enters, stops the creature untapping, but then and can't have counters put on it is like a bit of weird text to have in Pauper. I don't really think we have anything that like stops counters.
So the only thing then, does that work with? In a good way with Blight or a bad way with Blight? So Blight's the new mechanic from Lorwyn Eclipsed, where you basically can pay costs to put a counter. Usually it's either Blight 1, Blight 2, Blight 3, so you either put -1/-1 counter or 1 -2, like, do you know what I mean? And you pay that cost, and it's sort of like a downfall to pay for a more expensive thing.
I think that would probably be the same as Devoted Druid, right?
Yeah.
When you couldn't do it.
Which I'm guessing is the reason why they've done it. So it kind of can't be blighted. So they can't just kill it off. Which is interesting, for sure. But
yeah, obviously, like, the rate-wise, it's pretty bad being 2 mana.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fair plays like these type of effects where you lock a creature down, but all the ones really they play nowadays is 1 mana.
Yeah.
They did test that, the Modern Horizons, like, snow-covered one, right, for a while.
Winter's Rest, was it called? Is that the name?
Yeah. But I think the favourites now are obviously all 1 mana.
Yeah.
This being 2 is sort of awkward in that regard, especially in that deck.
Yep.
But it is definitely the best text out of them all.
Yes.
So it's whether, like, it basically has no downside, right? Where all the 1 mana ones sort of have a downside.
Yep.
Or, like, can be untapped in different ways, like Quirion Ranger, for example, whereas this just doesn't. So, I don't know. It depends if the cost is too prohibitive. But I think that can't have counters is could sort of be an interesting thing if something works with it. Bit of a rabbit hole on the first one.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, it was an interesting point though. Like I was going to say beforehand, before obviously you were talking about other cards, my thought would have been, it's like, is it Platinum Angel and fetches? If you don't have life to pay, you can't do it. You can't pay the cost. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it works, because Magic's a very weird game, and I don't really... Like, I've been down a rabbit hole this morning on how Blight works with spawns and sacking spawns and paying Blights as cards, and I was like, honestly, very confusing.
What if you can cast a spell by sacking spawns, but put the counters on the spawns?
Which we'll touch on, obviously, further down the line with one of the cards in question, but, yeah. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. The next one is a bit more straightforward. It is Temporal Cleansing. Another blue card. It's 3 and a blue for a sorcery. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library, second from the top or on the bottom. So basically the exact same card as Dim Inferior, but the cost reduction on this one is Convoke rather than for each card you draw, basically. Obviously, Dim Inferior sees play. This, in something like Fae, might be something. Obviously, you want to be in a blue deck that is also a creature deck. It's sort of a bit of a reach, I think, but
yeah,
you never know. Convoke can be quite a powerful mechanic, and obviously the effect is playable. So
yeah, that was going to say, it's like, it's a powerful effect with powerful cost reduction. It's just to find the right deck for it, right? Like, Convoke's obviously is powerful, but it's what blue deck has. Do you know what I mean? Has that sort of level. Like, it could...
Yeah.
It could be, I don't know, something in FAMs potentially as sort of like a get rid of an enchantment sort of style. Because obviously Snap and things like that deal with creatures quite well, but Temporal Cleansing deals with other permanents, which is obviously another thought.
I think it's sort of a similar thing in the like Fae sort of realm where the removal they have is pretty useful at taking out creatures. Like tapping or making them not untap or return them to the owner's hand. But if there's like Cop Blue, for example, they basically just can't do anything. Like they can't, if it resolves, I guess, is the main rider there. But yeah, this is sort of quite versatile in that way, where if they've got a Chrysalis, you can get rid of it. If they've got a Cop Blue, you can get rid of it. Like, it hits everything pretty much. And the second from the top gives you that time to then just do it, untap, set up a counter.
For sure. 100%. Pretty cool one. Cool one to at least, like, I think these two are more cool things to have in those sort of style of decks, like Fae, have them in their arsenal, depending on the meta game that they expect, which is pretty. The next one is another interesting one. There's a whole cycle of these sort of common creatures, but this one's the blue-red one, which is Flare and Cinder, which is 1 blue-red, so 3 mana in total, for a 3/2 for an elemental shaman. And then when this creature enters and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. At the moment, looks very unassuming. Like, we've seen a lot of this mana value 4 or greater stuff sort of exist at the moment. Like, seen Spider Manifestation, that Lurken Lizard from the Spider-Man set. There's a few more in this set as well. Like, it seems to be like a theme that they're sort of like hard pushing. But my main thing about this card is it's pretty interesting for the likes of, say, Whale. You can play this in blue-black Whale already. You can play a mono-blue Whale, which already sort of exists. There's potential for, like, blue-red as well. Obviously, with it being blue-red hybrid. You've got Spider Manifestation, which combos as well with the Retraction Helix stuff. So, it just seems interesting.
Yeah, I guess if you're whaling something like a Frogmite or a Mirror Force, it works quite well, right? Because you get to just loot through your deck. If you're trying to go off with, obviously, a Scale of Criscoria or whatever it is.
Yeah,
obviously not so good there. But yeah, I don't know. It's an awkward one, isn't it? Like 3 mana 3/2 is not a good rate. And then the loot is obviously get it on enters, which is good, but then link to casting 4 or greater, which is basically... It doesn't happen as often in Pauper as in other formats like Standard, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's the like discard first. Like it's not the draw and discard; it's a discard and draw.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I could see it in Whale, but it's like, do they need it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It is, do they need it? Like, obviously, they've got a card from this set potentially as well, which we'll talk about later on. There's also Meeting of Minds. They've also got Thoughtcast potentially, like all that sort of stuff. Like, they've got a lot of those sort of draw spells. It's like, do they need this? But yeah, it's just an interesting one.
The next card is definitely going to give us quite a lot of density on this effect in Pauper. It's Midnight Tilling, which is 1 green for an instant. And you mill 4 cards and return a permanent card from among them to your hand. So Malevolent Rumble, Cash Grab, etc., etc. Another one. This one's stick, I guess, is it's instant speed, so you don't get a spawn, but you can cast it in your opponent's turn. It's obviously worse than Rumble because you don't get a spawn. Like, I think the instant speed is probably worth less than just a free mana or a free guy. But it's probably on par with Cash Grab, right?
Yeah, like the extra text on Cash Grab's almost always irrelevant, right? It's like if you pick a squirrel, you get a food, is it? But other than that, it's a 2 mana instant, mill 4, pick a permanent.
Yeah. So if a deck wants something like this, like I think we were saying, the Cat Alter deck could be a deck that wants just even more of these effects in. It fits quite well. It's basically just do you need this like high density of this one effect? If so, then you have it. Otherwise, it's not really gone. It's not replacing Rumble. And decks that are already playing Rumble and aren't playing Cash Grab aren't then just going to put this in because it's just the same card. So yeah, it's sort of pretty narrow, I guess, but it does up that density to 12 you could play of basically the exact same effect. So if you are just wanting to hoy a load of cards into your graveyard and get back 1 permanent each time, seems pretty reasonable for that.
Yeah, my thought was like a deck that functions on 1 card. But obviously, from when you were saying about the cat food combo deck, like the altar deck, you've obviously got like Tortured Existence. I know like very few and far between nowadays, but is a fan favourite. Like that deck does not function without Tortured Existence. So 12 ways to find it and having 4 Tortured, like, do you know what I mean? Like, sort of thing as in help dig to find it is pretty interesting. Like, it might be good there.
I always think the tough thing with these cards in like the cases of something like Tortured Existence or Dredge is they're not a creature.
No.
Like, so it's like quite a big downside to play them. That's why obviously Rumble is so favoured in Dredge over like the Cash Grab, for example, is that Rumble makes a creature, it leaves something behind.
Yep.
And Tortex is sort of the same. Like, you really want to find the Tortex, but you also need creatures to discard to it.
Yes, you need lots and lots of creatures.
Yeah, so it is a weird one. I think the cat food deck or the cat altar deck is probably the best place if it does want more of this effect. Because you are just literally digging for altar, and if you put a cat in the bin, that's fine. And you don't need any more creatures other than the cat and the altar. And the food, like the other stuff, like the food, you can just grab off this anyway. If you whiff, you just get a food.
And also you can return anything else as well with Retriever, right? As well, so it's like double whammy, so like nothing truly ever goes. The next one on the list for us is Scarblade's Malice, which is black instant speed, target creature you control gains death, touch, and lifelink until end of turn, and when that creature dies, it creates a 2/2 black and green elf. So essentially this is toxin analysis, but instead of getting a clue, you get basically.
It's an interesting one. Obviously, Mono Black Sack sort of is the immediate like spring to mind. Something that can utilize both the lifelink and the token. The Death Touch is fine as well, but I'm not certain on this one. Obviously, with something like Sack, like it's played stuff like Unexpected Fangs in the past. This obviously isn't permanent lifelink. It's just 1 turn. The problem is if you're putting it on your guy for the lifelink, your guy's probably not dying, and then you probably don't want to sack it afterwards to get the token because it's probably like your payoff guy, for example. But I guess as a more defensive card, if you're like putting it on one of your like Shambling Ghast or whatever to block, you then get the token off that guy that's just died, and you get an additional token, and you've killed their guy and gained a point or 2 of life. Could be quite good.
Yeah.
So I guess I've sort of sold myself on it there. I guess in that regard, it is probably just better than Fangs, right? Like if you're on defensive, it puts you quite ahead.
I could see it. I think obviously the thing is a lot of the token stuff and the return stuff comes back tapped as well. So like you can't really take, like, you know what I mean? Like Nested Chandler comes back tapped, the stamina and all that sort of stuff brings it back tapped as well. Like that sort of stuff. Where at least this is Toxin-esque or Unexpected Fangs-esque. I gain a couple of bits of life. I then have my guy die, do whatever the card was going to do anyways, and then create a 2/2 elves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the worst, it's like I attack with my Mortician Beetle for 10, give it lifelink, gain 10.
On the other side of it being a Toxin as well. So I don't think this will replace Toxin in like Crackland, Grixis Affinity, Jund Wildfire decks, because the clues was better, right? You just want an artifact that you can sack, right?
Well, yeah, the elf just dies.
That's when it dies, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So you play it on Crackland. If you put more than one trigger on the stack, the elf will just die.
Yeah, the elf will die, obviously. Yeah. But then in things like what I was more going to say, like obviously the Grixis wants the artifact, and he also draws a card and all that sort of stuff. There's potential for maybe Crypt Rats potential. I don't know. It's like if you're in like gardensy stuff, does the
Crypt Rat sort of makes more sense because you're more likely to just activate it in one go, right?
Yeah.
X.
So then it's like, does it get better in that sense, like in Gardens-esque sort of style of decks, or what's the other one? Turbo Fog, like sort of thing. Like because then it's not relevant, right? Like
no.
That's the thing.
I think the clue in those decks is still pretty relevant, right?
Yeah.
You're just sacking it to like the dispute effects and whatever anyway.
Yeah.
I think Sack's probably, if Sack wants something like Unexpected Fangs, this is probably a reasonable option. I think the defensive side of it is the much bigger sell. Just being able to block with your guy, make it trade with their guy, and then get extra value off it on top of the value you're already getting off it is probably quite appealing. I don't think there's many places this really fits.
Yeah, it's like Perigee or whatever it's called, gain 4, sack it, make an elf or something. But you kind of, in case if it's attacking. Yeah, there's a lot
I think it's definitely the blocking aspect that sells it there.
Yeah.
Or I guess even if you just like comboing off, I guess it's just an extra guy. Whereas Fangs is just dead in your hand if you're just like, all right, I'm going to sack all my guys this turn. You can literally just play this on a guy and then immediately sack the guy and just get another token. And so you just get another trigger for free, basically.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a pseudo creature in your hand as well, which is not the worst in a deck like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, another side grade that's also brings a card into useful aspects, right? Which is cool.
Yeah, I could definitely see this one.
Moving on.
Yeah, the next one is a bit more dubious, I would say. Sun Dappled Celebrant. It's 4 and double white for a 5/6 3/4 cleric with vigilance, and it has Convoke, so you can make it cost white for a 5/6 vigilance. Obviously, White Weenie is basically the home that this might fit in. If you can tap the 4, it's a pretty good rate.
Am I being silly, or can you make it completely free, right?
You can tap white creatures, yeah.
So you can be literally a 0 or 1 mana or whatever, which is interesting.
Yeah, true. But you have to not attack and just commit a 5/6.
I think my thing about this card, to me in White Weenie, a lot of the ground shitters just sit there. They get outclassed very easily, like your Novice Inspectors, your Lunarch Veterans. Like, I could see this easily just up here. Even I don't hate. I've got a Novice Inspector, literally one of each Inspector and the Lunarch Veteran. They're all getting outclassed by a 2/2. I tap these 3 and 3 mana. Here's my 5/6. Like, that is not awful.
Yeah,
It's a Vigilance guy that attacks. It can also tap for strands. It can also block and eat a terror with Chocobo. You sort of
the stats against terror's pretty favourable, right? Being a 5/6. And the vigilance is not nothing, obviously, with the strands sort of interaction as well.
Yep.
It's an interesting one. I'm not sold on it, but I think if I had trample, I'd be like, oh yeah, jam this in. But the fact it's just a 5/6 with vigilance, like your White Weenie guys will get brick wall behind a chrysalis, and then you'll play your big guy, and it'll just still be brick wall behind a chrysalis.
Yeah. It's a tough sell, like obviously in terms of like obviously as you say like chrysalis and stuff, but I think it might have its place. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not sold on it, but I'm also like, if this is probably the best card to come out of Lorwyn Eclipse, I also wouldn't be surprised. In all seriousness, like I wouldn't be surprised if this is trash and never to see play. But I also wouldn't be surprised if like the stats, the cost, the convoke, the vigilance, it all sort of seems like it could fit in White Weenie.
Mm.
That's the thing.
I think that the convoke's obviously a big part of it, because White Weenie, like, it struggles to just play 4-mana creatures. Like,
yeah.
We've had the Lux One guy, the Knight, and it just wasn't playable at all because you just never cast it on time.
Yep.
The Convoke, meaning basically every turn 3 you can just turn 3 this probably in White Weenie. Definitely pretty big.
I just think the stat line of Vigilance definitely lines up with the format, which is pretty cool. But yeah, hope to see this one in the future, to be honest. The next one is Gold Meadow Nomad, which is a white 1/2 Kithkin Scout. And then you can pay a white and exile this card from your graveyard to create a green and white Kithkin 1/1 token, and you can only activate it. Essentially, the idea behind this, it's bad Sacred Cat 5/2 is the idea. My logic behind it is my logic behind this card. I don't think this card will probably see play, to be honest, but I also, again, wouldn't be surprised. Like, the Sacred Cat annoyance of, like, here's a Sacred Cat, let's bring it back, is really annoying. Obviously, the lifelink of Sacred Cat is the thing that pushes that card over the edge, which this is lacking. But, yeah.
I think, this is just probably a bad Draven Inspector for the vast majority of the time. Like, the 1/1 just being, like, just our guy on the floor is almost irrelevant, basically, unless you are using something like Basilisk Gate.
Yep.
But even then, like, I don't know if this is what you want.
No, that's the thing. It's like, the big thing, obviously, Sacred Cat can just go, okay, you're doing a bunch of stuff, I guess I just Basilisk Gate this attack, and then I'm at least getting the life back from when you're swinging back. And then now we're racing. Like, this goes, okay, we're racing, but I'm still dying.
Yeah.
Which obviously is a big... Maybe people want a lot of Sacred Cats, who knows?
The next card is a 5-mana colourless shapeshifter, Rooftop Percher. It's got Changeling, it's got Flying, and it's a 3/3, and when it enters, you may exile up to 2 cards from graveyards, and you gain 3 life. Which are 2 separate lines, they are not tied together, despite how it's sort of weirdly written on the card. I'm assuming they ran out of room.
Yeah.
But the gain 3 is not tied to the 2 cards from graveyards. That's sort of just a bonus. Obviously, just another card to be considered for the elf slot of what guy do I put in that gets life? Whether it be the big spider changeling or the paladin or
Nylea's Disciple or any number of all the other cards.
It's sort of, I guess, more similar to the paladin. It sort of reads similar to the changeling, but the fact that the life is not tied to the cards being in the graveyard makes me sort of read it more like the paladin card, which is the same sort of similar stats. It's a 5-mana 4/3, right?
5/4 trample.
Oh, 5/4. But has plot, doesn't have flying, gains the same amount of life. Like,
yeah, I think it's an interesting thing for me because, as you say, it's very similar to the paladin, right? But every other card in the sideboards at the moment seems to be just do something, gain life, and then there's just the paladin, which is like, I'm probably the fastest and best body for gaining life. And it's like...
The plot's obviously not irrelevant as well on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this doing something and gaining life might make it playable. Like, obviously, it's... I don't know. I don't know if it'll replace the paladin, if it would replace, like, Pulse, maybe, because you can fire off Wind and Wear. Obviously, Pulse does a lot better of the graveyard hit impression. Like, it stops Spy, like being instant speed and all that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think if it had been pushed a little further, it would probably just be an auto-include. Like, if it was 4 mana, or if the life gain was slightly more. Even if you got rid of the exile up to 2 cards from graveyards line and just made it gain 5 life, I think you would just instantly put it in instead of the other cards. But it's just so close to on par with the options. It's like... Just I'm not massively sold on which option is actually better.
I don't think any elf player is either, to be honest. I think anyone can make their mind up which gain life slot is better. But while they're figuring out, here's another one.
Yeah, I guess the fact it's slightly modal with the fact it's got graveyard hit tacked on it. But obviously it's sorcery speed, graveyard hit, which not the best, and it doesn't hit a lot of cards. Like you're not boarding this in against Terra, for example. The
two things that I do find funny is it hits like really randomly annoying cards for elves, right? It hits like Strands, for example, but then also it's colourless in itself. So it helps dodge Strands.
Yeah, it has evasion as well, which is not nothing. Obviously, the Paladin does have trample. But then this dies to bolt where the Paladin doesn't. Like, there's a lot of push-pulls in every direction, basically.
Yeah.
The exile 2 cards as well, not irrelevant against stuff like Mono Red Madness.
And it's a dragon, for it's worth.
Just in case.
Just in case. The next one is Unexpected Assistance, which is a card that was spoiled quite early on, to be fair. I think it was like one of the first things to showcase Convoke. And essentially, it's very similar to Meeting of Minds. It's a 3 blue Convoke instant. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. So again, very similar to Meeting of Minds. Costs 1 blue pip more, but draws an extra card, but then has the discard thing tacked on. It's still an instant speed, so I could see this being an add-on / I don't know if it would replace Meeting of Minds fully in, like, say, FAMs, for example, but I definitely think it's probably an add-on. Maybe if you need 5 and 6 of these, it could potentially go there.
Yeah, I think the awkward part is obviously that second blue pip for FAMs. It is quite a substantial cost more. Like, if it just cost extra generic, I think you just replace Meeting of Minds immediately, basically. But yeah, double blue, like, the fact that most of them struggle to play counterspell is sort of telling of how easy it is to play the double blue. Obviously, the Convoke helps, but you need the creatures in play to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, it's not just, have a Seagate Oracle and then a Sunscape Familiar and basically cast it. It's like, you need a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Please go.
Discards as well is not nothing, right? They've played Strands in the past. They're very much in the graveyard sort of deck, right? Drawing an extra card is not nothing too, so it might be worth the extra effort to make it work.
And then the final card is Burning Curiosity. It's 2 and a red for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1, which is putting a -1/-1 counter on one of your creatures. And you exile the top 2 cards of your library. If the additional cost was paid, exile the top 3 cards instead. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Quite a cool one, I guess. It's sort of 3 cards, and then until the end of your next turn is a lot of cards and a lot of time. My initial thought was this in something like the Ruby Storm decks. Obviously, they already play the Glimpse, the Eldrazi version, but that doesn't give you till the end of your next turn, right? That's just you have to play the cards immediately. Obviously, it's got the bonus of you get mana, but sort of two different bonuses, I guess, to play into. Like this one, you can just play your guy, untap, play this, wait till next turn, and then go off. Where the Glimpse, you can use it as ramp.
So this is the card I was talking about when I said I went down a rabbit hole. So I was speaking to Kalikais, who's also very hyped on this card as well for Ruby Storm, as mentioned. Basing it on their list, right? There's the Goblin Anarchaeomancer, is that what it's called?
Yeah, and the Familiar.
And then they're the only creatures that they run. They run 2 spells that make creatures, which is the Glimpse that we talked about. And then there's the Seize the Storm, is it? The Wincon, the 5 mana, make a guy, gets bigger by how many stuff's in the bin.
Yeah.
Out of those, I was trying to be like, right, to me, this card obviously hinges on the 3 over the 2, because there's a card called, I think it's called Seize Opportunity, or Seize the Opportunities, which is literally just a 3 mana Reckless Impulse, and that was out in Dragonstorm. And they don't play that card. They don't play that card at all. They play, obviously, Glimpse. They play the 8 2-mana ones. And then they play 8, I think it's 8 of the big score effects. So, like the 3 in a red, discard a card, make treasures, or whatever it is. So, to me, this card I really like this card. But I went down the rabbit hole of hinging on how often do you get the 3 cards? So, Thornscape's a 2-1. So, unless you really want to blight the 2, like, you don't really want to do that. The 2-2 is obviously free. But then I was like, so can you blight a spawn and use the spawn to pay for it with this blight. The assumption is by people who have asked, they say yes, because it's an additional cost, and then you...
Yeah, it's part of the cost to play the spell.
Yeah. And I think if you can do that, it's cracked.
It would boil down to, right, like, the order in which you pay a cost, like, on the card.
Yeah. I think if you click the card...
Do you sacrifice the spawn before you choose to pay an additional cost? I don't know.
It's all very... But I think my understanding as well is the avatar lesson, 3 in a blue lesson sorcery that draws 3 cards and discards some if you waterbend. I can't remember what the card's called, but that's the card. That's what the card does. You basically draw something and you discard unless you waterbend 3. With the spawn, you can tap it for waterbending, but also sack it to pay for the cost of the card. So my assumption would be then that it because you're paying the additional cost with it.
Yeah. I suppose it's like Chromatic Star obviously counts to affinity, but you can sacrifice it to pay the blue for the Thoughtcast, so it effectively taps for 2. And
I'm assuming that if it works like that, I actually think it's a really good card in Ruby Storm because you obviously draw in 3 cards and it's a significant upgrade. But if you can't do that and you basically have to lose a mana from a spawn by actually killing it, you only essentially go down to 4 actual cards that trigger the blight. If you know what I mean? But other than that, I do really like this card. I do think the card potentially solid.
If you can do it like that, does it go in Jund Wildfire? Like, it's a lot of cards if you're using spawns to cast it and blight off it. Obviously, you have other creatures you can blight on anyway, but if you can just stack 2 spawns and pay a red, have 3 cards you can play until the end of your next turn.
3's a lot.
Seems pretty good.
Is 3 mana too much? Probably not. I don't know. I think you could. There's a world where you could move away from bargain effects, right? That's not out of the question. Stuff like this, just play generically good cards.
Yeah. The other question is there any other? I guess it's all pretty hinged on this spawn effect working because 3 mana is an amount of mana that you need to pay that is not insignificant to most decks. If you've got spawns to play that, you're probably in a better position to be able to use it.
Yeah.
Like something like the Boros decks, the Boros Synth, it's probably 3 mana is too much, even though you have plenty of like Thraben Inspectors and stuff you can throw counters on.
Yeah, but 3 mana plus making a guy semi-irrelevant is like doubly bad, right? Like, as I say, like if you can do 3 mana is not the worst, if you can still get the 3 cards by obviously doing that spawn trick sort of thing. But like you lose the downside sort of thing, but still get the 3 cards. I think like obviously turning a Skyfisher to a 1/2 is obviously you don't want to do that for them. But yeah, pretty interesting card. Be interesting to see if it does take off in Ruby Storm and maybe make the deck do incredibly well. There's
a lot of complicated interactions for standard cards. From the whole combo with the Blossom Blind, and then now this like putting counters on stuff that you've sacked or you are sacking.
Yeah.
Especially for a standard set, it's quite deep.
Yep, pretty fun. The irony is, I actually thought this segment would take like 5 minutes, and we've been speaking for 42 minutes. Let's just elaborate on that right now. But yeah, anyways, moving on. You know nothing else to say about Lorwyn, right?
No, I'm happy to move on.
Tournament news, just a shout out, there's one event, RIW are starting up their league. They're doing a tournament. The league description in the details, I actually don't even know when the event is. They will find out more information, to be honest. But basically, the thing is that about them is that they have their leagues, and then they have like like we do at the end of our league sort of thing. We have an event at the end of that to sort of help with league points, and ours feeds into the nationals, but theirs just feeds into their own championship. But they also have reasonable payouts for just non-league players. I think if like the cap, it goes to like a 1K or something like that. So, which is pretty cool. Obviously the link is in the description. All the pictures seems like a pretty cool event. RIW Michigan are always popping off with events, so I would highly recommend checking those out. And that is all we have for tournament news and news, to be honest. No other news.
Very chill at the moment.
Very chill. It's like people have just got back. Happy to talk some challenges. We've obviously got the 4 challenges to talk about this week.
Yeah. Thursday, the 8th of January being the first one. 56 players. So still pretty strong numbers for Thursday. first place is Jund Wildfire, piloted by Hyson as well, which is sweet to see. Repping the PFP in the challenges still.
Shame on the deck.
Second place, Monoblue. Shame on the deck choice. Second place, Monoblue Terror. Third place, Spy Walls. Fourth place, Rakdos Madness. Fifth place, Monoblue Fair. Sixth place, Bogles. Seventh place, Esper Gates. And eighth place, Core Gates. And then the two nemesis, ninth is Blue Black Fair, and 10th is Elf.
Yep.
Quite a lot of like different things being tried in most of these decks, to be honest. Hyson's Jund Wildfire list, for the most part, is pretty straightforward. It's like one of the Infiltrator builds. But he does have a one of Sagu Wildling in the main, and a one of Vampiric Link in the sideboard.
That card just keeps appearing. Just like hearing it. Hello.
So trying some pretty interesting ones. The Spy list as well has blue cards in the sideboard and a one of Island.
The best thing is when I was looking at these as well, I seen at first thought, I just hovered over like the sideboard. I was like, right, I seen the Island and I seen a blue Elemental Blast. I was like, why are they playing an Island for one Beb? It took me a while to realise that there's actually 4 Hydroblasts further down down in the list. So they're playing 5 Bebs and an Island, which is pretty interesting. I don't even know how necessary it is either. They must think they're struggling against red, but...
Yeah, it's like, it is an interesting one. Obviously, we haven't seen it much. They've got the Fume Spitters in as well, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, an Island and 5 Blasts. Obviously, the Land Grant doesn't even get an Island. It only gets Forest, right? So it's not even the easiest thing to grab. I guess you've got 2 Petals as well. Other than that, it's basically just the Sagus, right? Because the Ents, you've got the Gate Creepers.
Just Sagus and Gate Creepers really to grab them.
I wonder at what point it would be better as a Tangled Islet rather than an Island. You've got the 4 Sagus, the 3 Gatekeepers or Gate Creepers that can find it currently. But if you put it as a Tangled Islet, you have the 4 Ents and the 4 Land Grants that can find it instead. So you actually go up a source, like of pulling it out.
Yeah.
But it comes in tapped.
Yeah. It is interesting, right? Obviously, it's like a balance between them both in it. But I feel like there's too many inconsistencies with a tap land. Like, people have obviously tried, like, Haunted Mire and stuff in the past for that exact reason. But I don't know. I've had, when I was playing, like, Spy Elves with Haunted Mire, I tried it, and it was like, sometimes it felt great. Like, because I'm like, all right, I'll land grant. I don't have a 1-drop. I'll get my tap land and all that sort of stuff. But then other times I'm just like, right, I've got this thing that I can't get, or I'm struggling to get, or do you know what I mean? Like, in both sides. Yeah, it's an interesting push and pull.
You'd also be able to bounce an Islet to your 2 Quirion Rangers as well. So it's like you've got one more way to find it and 2 Quirions that would benefit from it, I guess. Also, you could keep it in your opener. Like if you had an opener with just like Elves, Tinderwall, Wall of Roots or something like that, you could keep Tangled Islet where you couldn't keep Island. Yeah, bit of a weird one.
Definitely.
But I'm not sure how much of a mainstay it'll be of Hydroblasts and Blue Elemental Blasts in a Spy sideboard.
Well, we'll see as we go
on. After that, the 6th place Bogles has cut the 3-mana spell sorcery that I forget the name of that looks at the top 6 and you pick 3 enchantments.
Crux's Insight, right?
That's the one.
Crufifix or whatever the god's called.
Crufix's Insight.
Yeah, whatever the god's called.
But replaced it with a different 3-drop with the return of 2 Heliod's Pilgrim.
Woo!
Which I feel like we haven't see any play in many, many years. For those who have never seen it see any play, it's a 2 and a white for a 1/2, and it basically tutors for an enchantment and puts it into your hand. Yeah, pretty interesting one to have in the deck again.
I feel like I prefer this over the Insight. I don't know why. I just like this card. Maybe it's just nostalgia. I don't know. But yeah, I like this card. Obviously, you've got a couple of like good, useful cards, right? Cards that you want to see every game. You know, your masks, your armors. So you're adding 2 extra copies of them, obviously. Yeah. But then you've got like techie choices, right? You know, you've got your Cartouche, your Lifelink, all that sort of stuff. And your Trample Givers, I guess, as well.
Yeah, pretty interesting one. There was an enchantment actually in Lorwyn that I thought was looking like it would go into Bogles, but then I read it again and they only gave Trample until like the end of the turn or something. I was that's sad.
the thing that gets indestructible and trampled, like the 3-mana one. Yeah, I thought the same.
Like if the trample was permanent, I was like, let's go, but it just wasn't. 7th place, the Gates list. The what did you call it?
Esper Gates or something like that. The Esper Core Gates thing, the thing that put cast down in Core Gates and then decided to put Relic in there as well. That deck.
Yeah,
like we covered last week.
Sort of just exactly the same, right? It's got one of Dawnbringer Cleric now that I think it didn't have last week.
Sure.
But other than that, it's still the 4 cast down, 4 brainstorm, normal Core Gates, and then 4 relics.
Fuck crack. Interesting.
But still doing well. Obviously, Gates proving it is a pretty powerful shell right now with the Core Gates coming 8th as well. Yeah, still pretty legit. And then the only other thing to touch on, which sort of links back to our Lorwyn discussion on the 5-mana rooftop percher, was the 10th place elves had a one of Webweaver Changeling, which is another card you can put in that slot, but also 2 Spinewood Paladins because they couldn't decide obviously which one to play.
Yeah, it's so like I said, most of these cards are just like life gain on a stick with someone else in it. You got Pulse, you got Spinewood, you got Webweaver, Vitulgazi, and then a Gingerbread Cavern, all just randomly gain life in the sideboard.
I feel like we are narrowing it down now. Like, it does seem like the sideboard is basically Vitulgazi, Emergence, a one-off cabin, some number of Pulse as like a core. And then there's like 4 to 5 flex slots of you can put more life gain in or you can put some tech pieces in. I think shifting into a more mono green focus has definitely helped that, like, define the sideboard a bit more. Like, when you could play every colour, all the sideboards are just absolutely all over the place for elves. But it does definitely seem like these mono green lists are getting closer and closer to, we want this number of Emergence, a one of Cabin, this number of Vitulgazi, this number of Pulse, and then X of this other effect.
Now there's another one to add.
Yeah. It'll just go 1-1-1. It'll be 1 Paladin, 1 Webweaver, 1 Rooftop Percher.
Moving on to Friday.
Anything else you want to touch on? Or, yeah.
No, happy to move on.
Friday, the 9th of January, 61 players, so a pretty good turnout for a Friday. First place, Blue-Black Terror / Control. Second place, White Weenie. Third place, Dredge. Fourth place, White Weenie. Fifth place, Mono Blue Terror. Sixth place, Spy Walls. Seventh place, Rally Red. And 8th place, Mono Blue Fate. And then the 2 near misses. 9th was another Mono Blue Fate, and 10th was another Mono Blue Terror.
Where do you want to start?
Again, some pretty interesting ones, really. I guess at the top, the first place Blue-Black Terror / Control list is a weird one, because it obviously has 4 Terror and a Gurmag Angler, but then plays none of the Thought Scour Mental Note type effects. So it is very much more like to the Blue-Black Control side of the spectrum. Obviously backing up with 3 Thorns and 3 Murmur Mystics as the other 6 creatures in the deck as well. Sort of pushing it even harder on that.
Yeah, it's a lot of creatures. 3 Thorns seems very excessive to me. 3
I
Murmur
could see
Mystics
that.
is sort of like, I kind of get behind it. You kind of need, like, it's probably the card that's going to stabilise you / win you the game a lot more often than most. But yeah, I think Thorns. 3 Thorns is a lot.
I guess it's a weird one, because if you are slowing down so much, you probably don't need as many creatures anyway. Because you're going to deploy them in a situation where it's less risk for them to get removed. You've obviously got counter spells, lose focus, spell pierces and stuff to protect them. But yeah, it's interesting to go down the terror route, but then not really play any of the cards that capitalize on that, like the Thought Scours, like the Mental Notes.
Yeah, feels very blue-red Scred to me, but blue.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, blue-black Scred.
Blue-black Scredless Scred. That's what it's called. Yeah, pretty interesting. Cool deck.
Yeah,
always nice to see.
Sideboard-wise, it's basically just what you'd expect: spell bombs, blasts, unexpected fangs, basically blue-black staples. Sideboard. White Weenie. Sort of nothing much to report. It's a pack beast version. Other than that, there's nothing too stand out. I guess 2 great swords in the sideboard, but that's not really unheard of.
There's no, like, they're literally fully on the Choco Mog thing. They're not on the... I forget the other name. The guard, not the Guardians pledge, the other one. Ramosian Rally. That's the one.
Yeah.
Because usually if you find like the running Choker Mob, they tend to run some number of Ramosian Rallies, at least.
I'm assuming that's where the camels have sort of fit in.
They just want big dogs.
They're not even camels. I've just realised. It's Salt Road Pack Beast. It's a beast.
Yep.
I just thought it was a camel.
Nah, it's a camel. It's definitely a camel. Look at it. It's a camel with
its
a
head
chicken's
looks
head.
like a dragon or something. Yeah.
But it's a camel.
Third place, Season of Mists, taking up the Mazaboy vacant dredge mantle, it seems. Basically running Mazaboy's list with some slight sort of tweaks to use Rubber Belt Maverick and no like momentary blinks and stuff like that. Interestingly, they are still using the Holdout Settlement Survivors encampment, even though they are basically just straight Jund at this point. Like, yeah, it's quite cool. Quite cool take.
The thing that I really have noticed though about the Jund settlement list, like the Survivors encampment Carnigan, is the mana is surprisingly just better. Like it's just so, because it's as weird as it is, you're like a green based deck with like a splash in other colours, right? Like, you generally tend to need, like, occasionally you'll need double black because you've drew a Dread Return. Sometimes you'll need, like, double red because you want a double Scrapwork more. And the old mana base sucked for that. Where this is just, like, it just seems really, I don't know, it just seems solid with, like, the garden and the encampments. It, like, fixes so many random issues.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly what I found. So, I don't understand the Maverick. I do and I don't. Like, I get it to an extent. But over Blink... I don't know. Clearly, they don't think they need to go as aggressive. Like, you know, like Giant for like 7 and Blink it or whatever. They just want to...
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because the Rubber Belt sort of goes aggressive, but in a different way. Like, you are just starting to mill a lot sooner. And you can sort of fit them in on turns where you maybe wouldn't cast anything else anyway. Like, you can Wayfind it into Maverick, for example, on 3, where otherwise you'd maybe just Wayfind a tap land and do nothing else.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a solid card, right? You're never really going to be disappointed. You get some selection, but you still get to fill your graveyard. And also the put a counter on a guy is actually not that irrelevant.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Outside of that, the Spy was another one. Was it the same pilot running blasts in the sideboard? It was not the same pilot. So they just had the same sort of idea, if not the exact same list, to be fair, with the 2 Lotus Battles. 5 blasts, 1 island in the side.
Yeah. Continuing the theme and still doing well. It must fix some amount of problem, I guess.
Other than that, the final list to touch on for me is Mog's 10th place Terra, Mono Blue Terra. Obviously, we've seen the developments in Terra lately with Delvers like coming and going. Memory Mystics being moved to the main, Delvers being completely relegated, Force Spikes coming in and out, Dispels coming in and out. Mogs went a different way and removed the Delvers, but then put Spider Golems in.
Yes.
Which is, I haven't seen in a long time. I think last time I seen it was in Fairies. But quite a cool sort of take on what is this slot. It's a pretty good mirror beater, right? Because it just completely walls Delver.
Yep.
So you basically, if you had Delver or if they had Delver and you didn't, it's just going to clock you forever until you like waste a Deem or something on it. Spire Golem just completely stops that, and then multiple like 2 Spire Golems is a pretty quick clock.
Yeah, it's surprisingly good at stabilizing. It does like a good Murmur Mystic impression, right? It's pretty good at stabilizing the board regardless of what's going on. Obviously, it doesn't help against big Writhing Chrysalises that are chiming in like Murmur Mystic can obviously just chump them with 1/1s and stuff. But other than that, it does it does a solid job against Delvers, does a solid job against all the sort of random shitty flyers that are knocking around right now, like bird tokens from White Weenie, bird tokens from Murmur Mystic, you know, core sky fishes from White Weenie, I don't know, whatever. There's umpteen different flyers, but yeah, it adds up, right? And it's cheap most of the time. Like, you don't struggle to get to 3 to 4 lands, and at that point you're paying 2 to 3 mana for it.
Yeah, I think that's the sweet spot as well, is obviously having 4 islands, being able to cast the Spire Golem and hold up counterspell.
Yeah.
Whereas Murmur Mystic can often be like, you have to just risk it and tap out on a turn for it and just hope it survives that turn. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, cool to see a third take on Mono Blue Terror. Essentially the same list, but 3 different ways.
Maybe the threats are too strong that the third one's so irrelevant. It's like, what do we do here? But yeah, pretty interesting nonetheless. Moving on to Saturday.
Saturday, the 10th of January, 57 players. First place was Dredge, once again Season of Mists with the same list. Second place was Grixis Affinity. Third place was Spywalls. Fourth place was Mono White Heroic. Fifth place was Mono Blue Fair. Sixth place was Gardens. Seventh place was Mono Blue Terror. And eighth was Greenery Ramp. And then the 2 near misses. Ninth was White Weenie. And 10th was Mono Red Madness. Yeah. Season of Mists. Taking that Dredge title seriously. Basically the exact same list, right?
It looks like it.
Yeah, might be the real deal. Maverick might be the real deal.
I think, let's be honest, it's the rest of the stuff. I actually find that when I played the Blink Dredge, right, the Blink come up so infrequently for me. Like, it was just like, this Dredge mana base and smoothing out my draws and gatekeeper and the shit out of people and, you know, all that sort of stuff was the powerful bit. But I could also, like, adding to that with a Rubber Belt Maverick definitely could be the real deal. Like, I'm just going to make my deck do better things and stop this Blink stuff. I could get behind that, 100%.
The third place Spywalls, once again, was the same pilot from the Friday, running the whole... It actually went up to 2 Blue Elemental Blasts and 4 Hydro Blasts.
Yep.
So it must be working, I guess.
Yeah. I really would like to know what it fixes. Like, is it just, like, not letting Gutter Snipe resolve or something? Is that like kind of the idea? Or I'm going to not do... Is it a good way to deal with Crackland Shaman? Or what? It'd be pretty interesting to see. Or maybe it's all of the above. Who knows?
Heroic is sort of more of the usual. Still on the 3 Wonderweave Aerialists, 3 Sandstone Bridges, 3 Homestead Courages. A Crone Skyguard's back in, which is sort of not a 100% at this moment, I suppose. It's sort of switches between that and Deathblade, right? But otherwise, pretty stock on a White Heroic, I guess.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with that damn Sandstone Bridge.
Shout out to Bath as well with this Mono Blue Fair list. It's not really anything that we haven't spoke about before. It's the 1 Cryptomancer list. But they've basically just been smashing all the challenges. I feel like they've been in all 3 of these challenges.
I believe so.
That we've done so far. And I haven't mentioned them yet, so I feel like it's probably worth mentioning. Just the same list, I think, each time. With a 1 Cryptomancer, 2 Strix, 2 Elder, 2 Brian Barrows, and then a 2 Force-Spike, 2 Dispel as like the 1 mana counter split. But yeah, grinding on the fair grind.
Bath, clearly the greatest fair player of all time. I just
gotta be in the conversation.
Definitely. I just love Bath's fairs list. They're always so innovative, but make so much sense. Respect.
The 8th place Red Green list. Weber piloting it. So another PFP member in the challenges this week, which is cool to see once again. Always good to see them getting involved with the format in a obvious manner, I guess. In terms of like Red Green Ramp list, it's sort of not really doing anything untoward or anything new. It's the smaller version. It doesn't have the dinosaur in. Other than that, sort of fairly stock 3 ramp throughs, 4 rumbles as the spell package.
Yeah. Seems it's like it's pretty interesting how the Red Green Ramp sort of evolved over time, right? Out of like 2 Crushocks and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Like, it cut the Cascade stuff to make room for the Crushocks and, you know, maximised on the curve that way with Hydra and stuff. And then now it's sort of edging away from that, going back to the board and party stuff. Be pretty interesting.
Other than that, unless you've got something else to touch on, there's not too much else going on in the top 10.
No, I just want to obviously mention on the White Weenie, they're not this White Weenie, but generally both White Weenies that we've seen a return of Sunlance and I think Hallow as well in both of the White Weenie lists that we sort of touched on, which was sort of anecdotal. Is that the right word for it?
Yeah. A return is strong as one-offs in the sideboard, but they're definitely there. I'm not entirely sure what the the idea behind them is. Obviously, Sunlance is really good against stuff like Delver, for example.
Yeah.
This list obviously on the Spider-Man as well, to Darvel, who's web protects.
Yep. Riveting.
Quite weenie.
Can't wait for that card to be replaced by a tree folk.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
And then the final challenge, Sunday the 11th of January, 63 players. So solid numbers for the Sunday. First place, Cat Gardens. Second place, Green Red Ramp. Third place, Mono Red Sly. Fourth place, Black White Blade. Fifth place, White Weenie. Sixth place, White Heroic. Seventh place, Mono Blue Terror. And eighth place, Mono Red Madness. And then the two misses, ninth, Mono Blue Terror. And 10th, Jund Wildfire. Yeah, Mono White doing the rounds this week. If we're on the idea that challenges are everything, surely everyone should be playing White Weenie and Mono White Heroic.
Definitely. Can we start with what I would actually say is probably the secretly spiciest deck here, which is the White Weenie deck in sixth place from the goat that is a Muda. And also couldn't...
The White Heroic, you mean?
Sorry, the White Heroic, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The White Heroic with... Couldn't leave the Mogwarts vibes at home. Playing 4 Guide and Voice, which first I don't know what this card is. It is a 1 white, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and learn. And that essentially allows you to basically play a learn sideboard however deep you want to go. And those are, and basically there's 3 cards that they learn for. One of them is a airbending lesson, and 2 of those is Yip Yip. Yip Yip is essentially, from the top of my head, because the magical line picture doesn't show, it is, I believe, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and then if it's an ally, it gets an additional +2/+2. Is that about
No, it gets flying.
It gets flying. I wasn't far, but none of the creatures are allies. So it's basically 1 white, give +2/+2, but you've already give something a +1/+1 counter anyways from the Guiding Voice. The other card is a Airbender Lesson, which is 2 and a white for an instant, and you airbend a non-land permanent, is it? Something along those lines? I think the picture's gone.
Good question.
I think it's 2 and a white to airbend something, and I think it's a non-land permanent.
Yeah, airbend, target non-land permanent, and draw a card.
Yeah, and draw.
For 3 mana.
Yeah. So
that's like sort of a bit of a temporary removal spell.
I think you can also do it on your own. I think you can airbend your own stuff too, which is sort of like
get it out of the way.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. But
it's definitely a sort of cool way to take it, because they're obviously playing for Homestead Courage anyway. But the Guiding Voice is sort of Guiding Voice with Yip Yip is sort of Homestead Courage to like anyway. Like it's putting a counter on, so it's doing the first half, and then instead of flashback, it's just giving you a single white +2/+2 into your hand. I like the idea. And the loot in Heroic isn't also not the worst, because you tend to get to points where you've got like a reasonably sized guy, and then you just top and lands. So being able to play this and then loot instead, if the Yip Yip wouldn't kill them, and just being a land is not the worst. It's cool. It's tough that it takes sideboard space up for what is effectively a Homestead Courage, I guess. Is my only sort of...
Yeah, I can imagine that's why they're only on 3 things, right? It's like kind of like 2 Yip Yips is kind of all I'm going to see anyways, and then the Airbender Lesson's like in case I get, in case I'd need to remove something or like get that utility. It's pretty interesting, because you don't really need much more, right? Like, they do have access to other-ish sort of stuff, like the introductions and stuff, but they're not that great.
I wonder if it would maybe be better to just replace the Homestead Courage with this, and then... Because obviously they've cut quite a lot to get these extra 4 Guiding Voices in, right? They've cut the enchantment, the solid footing enchantment.
Yeah, they've cut that sort of package, right? They're just more OG sort of thing.
Yeah.
Isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, the one Sacred Cat sort of throw me off as well. That's sort of a bit of a weird one. They've got four Skyguard, 4 Trailblazer, which is like OG stock Heroic. Got up to 4 Aerialists, so they're not just doing the whole Heroic runs 3 Aerialist meme. But then one Sacred Cat is like the next guy. Is a weird one. Like no Death Blades. Obviously the Armadillo gets worse when you're not running the solid footings. But Deathblade's just like pretty legit guy.
Yeah, I do think that probably like the one. I don't know. I like the going up on the area list, like because obviously you've kind of went up on Homestead Courages, right? So you've got up like so that kind of makes sense, and it's sort of like just solidish guy, right? Obviously the heroic guys make sense, but yeah, I think you're right. The Sacred Cat throws me a little bit, but it's like, is it like I'm gonna have this racing situation where you can't remove it, and I'm gonna just make it massive, and then I'm on like a bazillion life or something? I don't know. But then surely Deathblade Elite is probably just universally better. Like even a one-of seems better than a cat, I guess. But pretty interesting.
But yeah, very cool. Cool to see sort of some of the Avatar stuff seeing play, even if it is just in the sideboard. And then Guide and Voice, obviously seeing play. Like we haven't really seen that for. I can't remember even seeing it before, to be honest. But
clearly, haven't been watching my videos.
No,
clearly. But no, it's pretty good to see. I've been saying for quite a while that I actually think Homestead Courage is the best card in the White Weenie decks, and it's good that they basically just went, yeah, we don't need this Sandstone Bridge, and let's put 8 of the Homestead Courages in. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot better without the Sandstone Bridge. That's for sure.
I guess going to the top then, I just want to shout out finally that Truffaz finally got there with their 1 Doomblade, 1 Go for the Throat, Pestilence, Cat sort of Gardens pile. They finally managed to get the win. Pretty good going to them. Unfortunately, still with those 1 Doomblades, 1 Go for the Throats. But
there's a 1 Heritage Reclamation in as well, which is quite cool. Sort of a pretty versatile one to just have a one-of in the main.
Yeah, definitely. No one will play around the one-of as well.
Outside of that, there wasn't too much else to touch on. The Mono Red Sly list is trying a one-of Mirren Bane Splitter, which is another basically Inventor's Axe style equipment. It's a single red for a flash equipment. When it enters, it gets attached to something and it gives that creature +2/+4. But instead of the energy sort of free attach, you get to pay 3 instead.
Which is worse, to be fair.
Sort of worse the first time, but then Inventor's Axe you can't attach after the first, after the second attach.
I didn't even know this card existed, to be honest. But yeah, pretty cool.
They've also gone up to 3 gold hounds.
Oh my
god!
So
committed to the gold hound bit.
The amount of cards that have made like top 8 challenges that are so random is impressive. So cool. Mirren Bane Splitter, Gold Hound, Yip. We're on to a winner here with this challenge.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, stuff's not really changing that drastically, but like we are just seeing innovations in different decks, which is cool. And then I guess finally the 5th place White Weenie, as more White Weenie talk, 4 Martresans in the sideboard. Pretty big like life gain commitment. They're also on a couple of Pack Beasts in the main, but only 1 journey, which seems like not that many.
That is an odd number of journeys. 4th Raven Charm, 1 journeys, an odd commitment. Oh, hey-o.
I'm assuming it's sort of made room for the Pack Beasts and maybe the Eagle, the one-off Eagle.
Interesting.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Only other thing is that obviously Mr. Twin in 4th with the black-white blade. Cool to see the deck still sort of on the fringe of playability and all that sort of stuff and just being there, but no real crazy innovations, right? Just obviously shout out that it's still existing, going to time in every single way. Yeah. And the, I guess obviously Mogged, obviously top 8 as well with the Spire Golem again.
Yeah, the 7th place error list was Mogg's list from the previous challenge. With the 3 Spire Golems.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool weekend all round, to be fair, for the challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want to move on to our second listener question ever and the second listener question of 2026?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is from Moist Moose, which their question is, word for word, at what point do you think a rogue deck becomes a niche deck in the format or a more prominent part and is considered a tier deck? Examples of rogue decks include like stuff like the Food Storm, like Giorgio combos, Food Alter combo, what we're calling it. The green red tokens deck we've seen like back end of last year, I think, do well in the challenge, like the Impact Tremors deck. And then they've mentioned Blink Dredge here as well, but we'll sort of touch on that. So for me, the first initial thing is I wouldn't really say there's a difference between a rogue deck and a niche deck, right? Like they seem very similar to me. Like obviously, I don't know, maybe there is a small difference, but they seem very, very close to being similar. To me, our big point that we'll kind of touch on is when do they become a more prominent part and is considered a tier deck? I guess is probably the point to stand on.
Yeah. I think it's hard to sort of define, like it's very like personal preference to decipher what rogue and niche mean. But I think at what point a deck becomes a part of the format is like sort of a reasonable way to look at this. Like the cat food combo list that we looked at last week is probably the most recent and easiest example to go off. I think for me, like looking at Magic Online would be if more than one person played it and did reasonably well in a challenge. Or if one person just keeps playing it and keeps doing well in challenges, that sort of will cover that as well. But I think as soon as there's more than one person playing it, so like that Cat Altar deck, I would still consider it just like a fringe niche rogue deck, whatever you want to call it. Because it's basically only the one person that's played it and done well once.
Yeah.
But if we had like seen that this week from someone else, for me, I would consider that like now part of the format, or like exclude a Magic Online if we seen it at like some of the larger pauper events. Like Geddon, if something like that top 64 Geddon, I would be like, oh well, we can probably start to consider this as part of the format.
Do you consider it would you consider it if a deck like, say, I don't know, green red tokens 5-0'd like seven times different pilots? Does it have?
If it was in leagues, and I think if it was different pilots, like if it's just the same person just grinding leagues, you're like, well, that's impressive if it's legit, but the sort of like you can manipulate stuff like that, leagues and stuff, can't you really? But
just genuinely,
if you go out the way to do that, but if it was multiple people, like it's obviously a pretty legit deck. I think leagues is a harder one because you only see 5-0s.
Yeah,
like every other person could be playing Grill tokens, and if they all come 4-1, you're never gonna know about it. So it's like a hard one to go off.
I was genuinely just I do agree. Like obviously, literally, we could have never ever seen that what would be the best deck in the game, because it's all it's doing is 4-1 and it has this most consistent of 80% or whatever, you know. But yeah, it is a hard one to obviously track. But yeah, I do think you're all right. It's basically just a big significant, I would say, like meta share or small meta share doing well is how I would see it. If we see a big share over, like as you said, leagues doing a lot of 5-0s, or even to an extent of potentially like sort of the same sort of vibe, right? If one deck, like say this cat food altar combo, is just all over IPTs and it's just doing really well, you know, that's sort of like similar sort of league vibes, right? It's just like obviously a semi-big-ish event that's just doing well in paper, but it's the same sort of thing as challenges too, right? Yeah. It doesn't necessarily as well have to be this is now out of nowhere and become the best deck. It's just more, it's a thing that exists. Like look at the heroic with the Sandstone Bridge, right? It was just out of nowhere and then all of a sudden it was there. It's now the norm of heroic. But I wouldn't class the Sandstone Bridge solid footing as a rogue deck or a niche deck. I'd call heroic as a whole the niche deck and the Sandstone Bridge as a development of heroic.
Yeah, I suppose it's how far you take it as just a development on a deck.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The Season of Mists dredge list, for example, I wouldn't say is a new list. It's just like a development on dredge. And the same for Marza Boys list with the momentary blinks.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a new deck.
I agree.
I would just say it's a development on dredge. But I think the cat food one is probably the best example that we've had recently.
Yeah, definitely.
Which to me, I currently wouldn't say it's part of the format, because it's basically just Giorgio's played it and done well once, or the pilots played it and done well once. I think if we see it in another challenge from someone else, I would then in my opinion, it would then be part of the format.
But it is definitely, you are right, it is definitely personal preference, right? You could
100%.
go literally to one extreme to the other. Like, you could literally only count, if you wanted to, in your opinion, count like what you would consider the 3 best decks. Like, you could literally go, right, Mono Red Madness, Mono Blue Terror, and Jund Wildfire are the only 3 decks in the format, and that's all I'm considering. Nothing else is real.
Yeah.
Like, you could, like, obviously, taking it to the extreme, it is all personal preference, and it's how to one extreme to the other. Like, there'll be a lot of people that don't consider decks, where I would consider quite a lot of decks, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's quite funny to look at it the other way as well, where we had the Geddon that was won by the Packdoll Gardens list.
Yeah, that was
and basically, before that event, no one considered like that. It wasn't part of the format. He obviously won that event, so everyone was now aware of this deck, and then now it's completely nowhere, and like back to not, like, I wouldn't consider that deck a part of the format anymore.
Yeah.
Even though it was like recently, within the last year, that it won.
Banned out the format, you see, dead as we. But yeah, definitely, you are right. It's pretty interesting. Cool question. Thank you. If you do want to ask us questions, by the way, and we can obviously read them out on the episode, please join the Discord. I actually don't think I've said that today, you know. Whoa. Is this the first ever time I've got to this far? Wow. Don't forget to join the Discord. You can ask us listeners questions. You can talk crap about Pauper to us as well. And obviously, if you are in here, we'll write your name somewhere to when we get giveaway. Yeah. Anything else to add?
No, that's it from me.
These episodes are getting longer. That is for sure. And more
we need to speed up again.
That is all from us at Casting Commons. Thank you for your continued support. And we look forward to the rest of 2026, by the way. Don't forget, we're just starting. Don't forget to tell your friends, your family, and your neighbourhood Kithkin. Peace. Oh, wait.
Bye.
Oh, I missed it. I missed it.
What did you miss?
Until next time. And don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
Bye.